Welcome everyone to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals. And part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hour sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat and we might not know all the answers, but multiple heads thinking about a problem should. We have a bunch of questions submitted already, as you can see. But if there's anybody here live on the call who would like to ask any questions, feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality, which will be monitored. And also, there's usually a bunch of other amazing SEOs in the audience watching live. I think one of the best things about SEO Office Hours isn't just us four sharing our perspectives, but everybody else also sharing. So please feel free to do that. Like every week, with me today is Juliana Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Blogs. Morning.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. Thank you for running this show. We've nearly done it for 1 year. It's the 45th episode today. I'm really happy that we've got lots of people joining us today. Welcome, Zevran Uzair. We have Albert, Neil, Ikra, Emily, Benjamin, Munyene, Walid, Daniel, Jordan, Ebere, Titas. We have a lot of people here joining us live. Thank you for coming. And for those that are watching us from home, if you're enjoying the show, click a like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So as Mike mentioned, I am Juliana Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Blogs, and I run a digital marketing consultancy company here from Barcelona, and I help clients with their marketing and SEO needs. And today, I'm really pleased to have on the show two special guests, Katarina and Chima. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
So today we have joining us from the UK, Katarina Dahlin, and from Finland, Chima is the Senior Content Marketing Manager at Moz, and she is also the founder of the SCDC, the Freelance Coalition for Developing Countries. This is a not-for-profit organization that provides free resources, training, and mentorships for marketers of color. You might also recognize Chima. She's running a pretty cool show called the Moz Pod, and she's also running the Practical Marketer webinar series. She also speaks at other events like Nottingham Digital Summit, MozCon, Brighton SEO, and Search London, MN Search, loads of events, including WTS Fest Berlin. I'm going to share some links to the organizations and to her link on LinkedIn. Welcome, Chima. Thank you for having us, for coming on the show and being with us today, sharing your tips with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael and Joe.
And I'm really pleased to have as well Katarina Dahlin. Katarina actually just gave her great talk at Brighton SEO recently. She's a senior growth hacker and SEO consultant at a company called Genero, which is a leading growth agency in the Nordics. She's passionate about SEO, AI, and of course, flower gardening, because she actually grew the organic traffic of her blog called Slow Flower Garden, and she grew from 0 to 50,000 monthly organic visits in just 1 year. She's also spoken to SEO Vibes on Tour in Helsinki, and really pleased to have her on the show today when she'll be sharing her tips. Very impressive with your slow flower garden, Katarina, growing it so much.
Thank you very much, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm just going to share some of the Katarina's websites here in the chat. If you have any questions, like we said, like we've had last week's, please do write them in the chat, and we can be answering all your questions today. We've got 20 audience members. Thank you all for joining. And it looks like we've got quite an international SEO office hour as well, calling from Nigeria, Kenya, Pakistan, UK, Finland, and Spain as well. If you are dialing in from any other country, please write it in the chat. Back over to you, Mike.
Great. Did anybody have any exciting news this week? Anything come up? I'm looking at you, Joe. Anything to tell us or share?
I was nominated for Search Marketer of the Year, so for part of Search Engine Land. So thank you very much. And I got a surprise email as well on, I don't know if it's Monday or Tuesday night, about Conductor Women in Search. I was a nominee for that. So that's very exciting. The winners for the Search Engine Land will be announced next Monday, or on this Monday, October 21st. And the Conductor in Search, that's going to be at their virtual event on November the 12th. I will share the links in the chat So yeah, thanks very much, Mike.
I've got my fingers crossed for you. Okay, let's jump straight into it because we've got tons of questions. And as I said, if anybody would like to submit any questions, feel free to do so either in the chat or if you're watching on YouTube afterwards on our website. Okay, first question, nice and simple. What do you wish you knew when you first started blogging? I think everybody here are bloggers. Katarina, can we start with you on this one? Because in the first year of your blog, you went from 0 to 50,000 organic visitors, right?
I started a bit late with blogging at 33 years old, maybe because I didn't know how to start. But yeah, I wish I would have knew some SEO just so I would have known how to get my blog posts into Google and get some readers. So that's
Cool. Okay. It would be to know about SEO. So come and join SEO office hours if you're just started blogging, and then hopefully you'll find out some more. Chima, what about you? What do you wish you knew when you first started blogging?
Honestly, when I started blogging, the first thing I wish I knew was keyword research. Like I had no clue what I was doing. I would just sit down, maybe I'm eating and an idea would just come to my head and I'll just write an article about it and publish it. And maybe 100, 200 people will read that. But the first thing I really wish I did when I started blogging was keyword research. The second thing was I wish I had thought about how to diversify my channels. Back then, blogging, everybody was blogging for riches, basically. So nobody was thinking that a day would come when we would have something like the HCU, which in my opinion is still one of the biggest changes we've had. Yeah, and if I knew what I knew back then, I would have thought about how can I diversify my channels, maybe jumped on video sooner, created a YouTube channel, started using my socials to repurpose the content I was creating on my blog. Just do anything to make sure that I was not going to be completely reliant on search traffic. That would be the two big things for me. Understanding keyword research, running more audits too. I don't do enough audits. Back then, again, I would just publish content and leave it at that. If I had this knowledge that I have now, I probably would have been running like yearly audits to understand my content that is performing, why it's performing, seeing what I can reverse engineer across my other content, and even doing updates. I absolutely hate updates, but they're necessary. And I wish I knew all of this stuff back then. Probably I would have made more money from blogging than I did.
I was going to say, how rich would we all be
Yeah, right.
if we knew? Joe, what about you? What do you wish you knew when you first started blogging? So advice to somebody that's just about to start blogging.
I would look at Google Trends. I would see what is coming up that isn't actually that popular yet. So you can apply that to different categories. So let's say e-commerce, for example, toys for Christmas or new mobile phones. There won't be any search volume, but you really want to be there writing it before it actually picks up. And I'd also look to competitor audits, find a gap. What are people not talking about that's big in the market or that will be big so that you could get in there early?
Amazing. So having a think this morning about this one, I think when I first started blogging, I overthought and I think I would just do it because chances are if you're just starting to do this, once you start doing it, you'll learn as you go and you'll want to make changes. And so don't create any barriers for yourself. I would just, if you work in a particular industry or you're passionate about a particular topic, I would just start writing so that you get an idea of, okay, what are people searching for? What does my content rank for? How do I write? And all of that stuff for the web. And then once I've published something, a bit like Chima was saying, isn't it? I would go back and update and improve and enhance because I think you can get so much data on posts and pages that you publish once they're actually out there. You can do so much research at the beginning, but I think you get so much more once you actually publish a page. And then once you get going, I think quality over quantity. So rather than I think when I first started, I did probably write way too much. I used to run an event blog years and years ago, and it's so embarrassing looking back at those first couple of posts. And actually, the posts that did really well were the sort of thorough guides and those things over the let's just get something out every day because that's what we feel like we should do. And then lastly, I think it's really important to have a point of difference when you're blogging. And that doesn't need to necessarily mean you have to say the opposite to everybody else. It can just be through things like your tone of voice and the way you present your content. I think a lot of people make the mistake of looking at what already ranks and basically doing either a very samey version or something that's a little bit better or not quite as good. And instead, some of my favorite brands are the ones that have a real kind of personality and point of difference. So they would be my tips. Joe, do we have anything in the chat?
Focus on quality over quantity and consider EEAT, Jordan's saying. And Daniel is agreeing about the keyword research.
Great. Okay, next question. Things are getting complicated with the advent of AI and all. So what are the courses or skills one can learn in order to stay relevant as an SEO expert? Chima, I've seen a few of the Practical Marketer series on Moz. They're so good. So would you be okay starting with this one?
I would first of all say that this is one of the questions that we are asking Lily Ray at the next Practical Marketer that we are hosting on the future of search. So whatever I say here is probably going to pale in comparison to the advice that Lily is going to give. So think about signing up for that. But I would say that because everything is so driven by AI right now, what hiring managers, or even what we need right now as an industry, we need more strategic thinkers. So that would be the number one skill. I'm not sure if that's something you can learn in a course. If you can find courses that help you build up that strategic thinking, honestly, that would be the number one skill. Strategic creative thinking, like how can you be an innovator? How can you come up with new things that will disrupt the status quo? Stuff that's going to get people excited, makes people realize that, okay, this is definitely not AI. So I would say that is the number one skill. Number two, everybody needs to learn how to write. First person experience is becoming so much more important as a way to erode all of this AI content that we are seeing. I think I talked about it yesterday in a LinkedIn post. Everybody needs to learn how to write so that you can create content in your own voice that sounds like you, that lets people start to attribute that style to you. So if you're not a good writer, but you're thinking about personal branding, thought leadership, any of that stuff, you need to know how to write in a voice that sounds like you to be able to stand out from all of that noise. And I would also say, honestly, take this as a grain of salt because not something I'm going to do. But if you are technically inclined, I would say learn how to use machine learning with AI. As we have ChatGPT right now, in fact, I'm working on repurposing my King's webinar into a blog post. This man listed 101 AI tools. And let me tell you, most of these tools, even though they say they are no code, you need to understand how to read code, or you need to understand some developer language to understand what these AI tools, even the no code ones, are showing you. So I would just say learn how to use machine learning and AI for SEO. That is something that is going to set many technical SEOs apart. And the final one, honestly, would be investing in some training for AI. And when I say invest in some training for AI, is there's a lot of AI tools these days that can literally take tons of data and analyze them, visualize them, but you still need to be able to know how to give it the right inputs to understand what you're seeing or to get the right output from it. So I don't know if it's prompting that you need to learn. And I don't want to say prompt engineering, but yes, prompt engineering, understanding how to get data out of these AI tools. If you can learn those resources, I don't know if that still ties into machine learning, but yeah, machine learning for SEO, AI and prompting for SEO, basically anything that allows you to get more out of AI, anything that makes you a better strategic thinker, anything that makes you a better innovator, and anything that makes you a better writer so that you can build thought leadership to stand out.
Amazing. What about any skills or courses for AI?
I would say just learn by doing. Try out, use ChatGPT or something else, discuss with it, and it will help you on the way. And also, there is so much to take in. So find someone else who is good at it and follow the person on LinkedIn, and you will learn a lot from them.
Amazing. Joe, what about you? Any courses or skills that one can learn in order to stay relevant as an SEO expert in AI?
I would actually say go a bit one step further what Katarina said. So if you know someone that is using it, perhaps you can do like a lunch and learn. Maybe you can swap with them. You can teach them some things and they can point you in the right direction. What have they been doing? This is still a very new development, so I wouldn't panic that you're not doing it yet or that you don't know that much because it's still very fresh. So I would actually see if you can connect with others in your industry. Obviously, Women in Tech SEO is a great community. People are always very friendly there. There's always opportunities to learn from one another, or if you're part of other communities like the Digital Marketing Union, I'm sure there are people there that are using AI, and you can do this type of lunch and learn or swap session.
Great. I think we're quite lucky that we work in an industry where everybody shares so much. And so I think I've been learning just by following people on different social media channels and seeing what they share. And I think going to events like Brighton SEO was just a couple of weeks ago and just going to talks and listening to how other people are using AI. There was a talk by the team at Holiday Extras, and it was just like really fascinating about how internally they're using it for making their team better and their business better, but also externally how they're using AI in different ways for making the customer experience better. Or the question they asked is, if AI disappeared tomorrow, would it make a difference to us? And I thought that was a really good question because it shows that they're actually really trying to integrate it in their business. And yeah, it's really fascinating. So I think one way to learn is basically following people, going to events and hearing how other people are doing it. What Katarina said about just playing with it yourself, I think is really important. And there are so many different ways of us accessing different AI tools and so on, and just creating that time to do that, I think is really important. And just making that time, it's easy to let things pass, but taking an hour or a couple of hours each week just to catch up with updates there have been in terms of these different tools and, like I said, how other people are using them. Joe, have we had anything else in the chat?
Oh, just a couple of comments. So Google digital marketing courses, while he's saying be specific with what you want because there is so many things out there. And he said that Chima already mentioned in the first question, he believes that SEOs need to learn more about other digital marketing channels so they can help their clients promote their brands on other digital appointments and not always relying on the organic traffic.
Great. Okay, next question. This is quite a long one. Hey guys, does anybody know any tools, AI, or processes for doing mass content audits and plans? I have a new client with a massive website, 11,000 plus URLs in Google's index. Essentially, I need to review each URL and decide whether to update, delete, or redirect. Some URLs receive organic traffic, but most don't. And some of the content is irrelevant from what the client does. I'm looking to improve the overall quality of the website, but I need to understand exactly what to do and what steps to take. I can't seem to find a single process or tool from someone who's actually done this at scale. Oh, okay, good. So somebody's obviously got now responsible for a huge website, and they're basically trying to work out if there's a process or some sort of tool or something to help them with just improving the overall quality by the sounds of it, mostly consolidating, but also updating pages. Who would like to kick off on this one? Joe.
I would actually run this one through the traffic that they're using on Google Analytics 4. So they're saying that if some URLs receive organic traffic, but most don't, if most are not receiving organic traffic and it's not relevant, I probably wouldn't focus on those ones. But I would actually sort by the ones that are actually driving the most traffic and analyze where those are ranking as well and what they're ranking for. So get that data from a third-party tool, or you could also just focus on the top 1,000 coming from Google Search Console. So I wouldn't actually be looking at 11,000. I'd probably be looking at probably the 1,000. And out of those 1,000, I divide them into the different category pages and then see which ones are most important. I think that would give you a nice overview to see that. And then if you can actually speak to some of the key stakeholders that are responsible for those areas of the site. If it's just one or two people, then great. But I certainly wouldn't put 11,000 in if most of them are not actually driving any traffic.
Great. Katarina, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I did a similar project in the summer where I had like a lot of pages that had really thin content or like really bad content. So I started that with also checking in the Search Console, because my goal was to just remove pages that wasn't serving the users, wasn't ranking in Google, wasn't getting traffic, and so on. So just I wanted to clean up a bit. So I started by checking in the Search Console, took all the metrics like clicks and positions and impressions, and started from the bottom, removed those that didn't get any clicks, didn't have impressions, just looked at the content and just removed them. And then also check from the other side, like from the best performing blog posts. Are there pages that rank maybe on position 11 to 20? Check, maybe these I could improve the content and try to get them into top 10. So working with the bad one and the best ones.
And so when you're managing a project like that, what's the sort of source of truth? Where obviously Google Search Console, you mentioned that you can get all this information from, but where do you write down, or where do you decide I'm going to get, is it a project management tool that you're using?
No, I use spreadsheet. I just take the data into spreadsheet and just start to add my own notes.
Yeah, that was going to be my feedback. Unfortunately,
yeah, I don't have a good tool.
There's no sort of cheat. One thing I tend to do with projects like this is use something like Looker Studio, where I'll pull different sources of data to create like an amazing spreadsheet, pulling in things like what you were saying, traffic and impressions from Google Search Console, but also some other factors as well. For instance, have we done campaigns before where we've got loads of coverage and links and stuff pointing to certain sections, to just make sure we're not just deleting, might get referral traffic, for example, through those. And so we're not just canning off all that stuff. But my thoughts on this were actually a spreadsheet as well. When I saw it, I was like, oh, maybe somebody else has got something. Chima, do you have anything to add? I imagine the Moz blog is probably got to be one of the biggest websites, no?
Yeah, I just put something in the chat. Literally, I took this from the article I'm working on with my king. And I think you should read that my king's article on vector embeddings. Let me not bite my tongue. I don't even know where that link is, but anybody just Google that. And this is literally pulled from that text. What was the initial question again? Sorry, please remind me.
Yes. So basically, this person has, for a client, they've been given a website that's over 11,000 pages, and they're doing a content audit and putting a plan together of what they keep and what they take away. And the reason I asked you that then is just because I saw your talk at Digital Summit, and I thought that was such a good talk.
Agreed. Like I'm auditing, the Moz website has over 1.45 million pages that I'm auditing right now. But the main thing I did, honestly, was Screaming Frog. I'm not even sure how to explain the process. The VP, Jonathan Bethold, helped me create some spreadsheet magic that took the data from Screaming Frog and helped me pass it through and just automated the workflow. So what we did was that we put the website inside Screaming Frog. We downloaded all of the URLs. Then we categorized them by filtering. And then after filtering, we put them by products into a spreadsheet. And then on each spreadsheet, we use some code. I'm not sure what he did, but he used some code on the spreadsheet to filter them. So all the pages that had zero traffic, automatically we're going to redirect them. All the pages that had 1 to 20 or to 19 views in the last 3 months, we can also redirect those pages to relevant URLs. And pages that had from 20 views in the last 3 months and above, we can then decide, do we need to update this content? What do we need to like improve the content, and just go from there. But it made it easier having some sort of automated workflow to highlight pages that have no traffic, pages that have 0 to 20 traffic, pages that have thin content, pages that need to be updated because they've been published or not updated in the last 5 years, pages that were updated in the last 5 years but are still underperforming. Then I can say, okay, I need to do more investigation to understand why. And then what is our biggest pages for each cluster that we need to make mission critical 0. That is my process.
Amazing. Yeah, I saw that talk. By the way, if anybody gets a chance to, if you can get access to the videos, it was really good. It was Hallam's Digital Summit in Nottingham. And yeah, it was really fascinating. But for the person that's asked the question, who's got 11,000 URLs, it's good to know that the guys at Moz with 1.4 million were still using spreadsheets as well. So spreadsheets are fine.
It's are not going anywhere. Take it from me. They are not going anywhere.
We have some comments in the chat as well. Consider using BigQuery to get more data than the 1,000 maximum from Google Search Console. Of course, Screaming Frog as well is a great tool. Natalia is also saying, yes, Excel rules the world. We have also Tatus, thanks for sharing the iPull rank link about the vector embeddings. We will be watching and reading that later. And Daniel suggested using a tool such as SEMrush to analyze organic traffic, backlinks as well, and see what's driving the most traffic. Yeah, loads of great tips there. I think the person that asked the question, yes, 11,000 is overwhelming, but I think it's confirmed that.
I just realized that one thing we also did that kind of helped with the mission was importing the URLs directly from GA into the spreadsheet. So if you have the URLs you've gotten from Screaming Frog in one column, then you can automate that process of filtering out the content that has zero traffic with that GSC data directly inside the spreadsheet. If you're trying to figure out how to do that, just ask ChatGPT. I'm sure ChatGPT can tell you how to create that automation, but that was very important and helpful. It also helped us to get position and the main keywords that each of these pages were targeting, which was also important for decision making.
Thank you, Chima. Thank you, Katarina, and everyone in the chat. There's a lot of answers, and thanks, Mike. I think that's a great answer to that question. I hope it's answered that person's question. Everyone else that's joining us, I think there's a few latecomers. Monse, thanks for coming. Natalia, and everyone that's joining us, watching the recording post October the 18th. If you're enjoying the show, click a like and subscribe to the Good Signals YouTube. And if you'd like to join us live, please do. I'll share the link in the chat. So sign up on goodsignals.com/SEO office hours. And we've got 27 minutes left, Mike.
Okay, cool. We'll go straight into the next one. Next one. Do you have any insights on the best approach to selling a website with good SEO? I have a couple of decent domains with content I'm no longer using, and I'm sure others could make good use of them. I've bought and sold websites before. Anybody else? Katarina, have you bought or sold?
My colleagues have done this, but yeah. I don't know. I have one tip, just if you want to get a better price for your website. So try to build some links to it before you sell it. Maybe you get a better price for it.
So when there are obviously marketplaces that you can put on, such as Flipper, and there are loads of others, and there's a whole market there that are looking at websites and buy them all the time. When I've bought and sold websites before, I've done it privately. So I sold my blog that I mentioned earlier years ago, and I just decided I think it's time to sell it. And I just reached out to a load of people privately who I thought could benefit from that traffic and benefit from that content, and just reached out to them and said, look, I'm thinking about selling. Would you be interested? And I've done the same as well for brands, where one way that we've thought about growing is buying good publications. So I used to work for a company that do things like stag and hen do's, and in the US you call them bachelor parties and bachelorette parties. And there was the only wedding magazine for men was there, and I could see that it was ranking really well for similar terms that we care about, and we just ended up purchasing it in the end because it had really good content. The person that was responsible for it, the blogger, was actually a journalist from the Guardian who happened to go through the experience of being a best man, and it was just really good content, and we bought that privately. Yeah, that would be the way. If I was to sell something again, I would try and find people that you think would want to buy, because I think you'll probably get the best price and the sale's probably more likely to happen. Joe or Chima, do you have anything to add in terms of if you were selling a site, what you would do?
I have nothing else to add. I think you summed it up very well.
Great. Okay, next question. Okay, so this person they've identified a load of broken backlinks to their website, and they want to know how they fix them to restore SEO value. Who would like to go on this one? Katarina, are you comfortable with this one?
Yes,
Yeah.
I really like these kind of projects because first of all, I would check what kind of links are there. Are they coming from spammy domains? If they're coming from spammy domains, don't do anything about it, like just leave them. But if there are some good backlinks, like from strong and relevant domains, I would check to what page they have linked to, like back in the times. And you can check that in the Wayback Machine. And then 301 redirect it to the closest page on your current site. Any page, but not the front page. Yeah, and then you might get the link power from the backlink as well, even though you redirect it.
Great. Joe, anything you would add to that to fix broken backlinks?
I think, yeah, we would use a third-party tool to see the domain authority of those sites, because if the domain authority of the sites is very low, then I would be fine with keeping those broken backlinks. I think realistically, I've done this exercise. If we only had a handful of sites that actually we wanted to keep, so we actually emailed them and they were genuine sites asking if they could repair the link, and they replied. Of course, not everyone does reply, so you hope that they will. I think we have 50% reply. So yeah, that's the best really you can do. And then of course, work on creating more coverage.
Great. Chima, do you have anything to add? Yeah, I would just say that, so what Joe said then, so you could either get the website that's linking to you to update the link to wherever you've moved that, or alternatively, like Katarina was saying, you can basically set up 301 redirects, and you can either do that. Most CMSs, you can get plugins or applications, so you can do it directly within the CMS, or you could do it on the server itself. Either some of the kind of interfaces of servers allow you to do that, and then some you'll need to upload like a htaccess file with all the redirects. So I would basically Google your CMS and see which one and how easy it is to do. Okay, next question, another blogging one. How do you adopt your blogging strategy in response to changing algorithms on social media and search engines? Who would like to kick off on this one?
Yeah, I think I would like to answer this, and I'm just going to drop a link to this case study by Cyrus Shepard that I believe everybody needs to read that report. I'm using Cyrus's article as a guide because it's based on data, but it's also stuff I've been doing, so it's reinforcing for me. And the first thing I would say is, again, because of how much AI content we are seeing out there, I believe the thing we need to prioritize going into next year is first-person experience. How can you center the author's story? So like right now, for example, when somebody wanted to write an article on the Moz blog about X link building strategies, I told them to repurpose it into X link building strategies I have used on client work. So it now becomes, this is what I did for this client and it worked because of this, or this is what I did for this client and it failed because of this. It now becomes a personal story based on that user's experience. Another example is the one I just recently published for Everett Sizemore on vector embeddings. And instead of him teaching the audience and centering the audience, I asked him to repurpose it into centering himself and his experience of using vector embeddings. And then he starts by saying, I felt overwhelmed when I read these resources. That already shows vulnerability, and it shows you that, okay, this is someone who is human, but he's able to go through it using the step-by-step process. So when you center yourself, rather than centering the reader, it actually builds up your expertise, because no two persons is going to have the same story about the same problem. It just does not happen. It is that unique perspective that you're centering. So this is another thing I feel we should be doing is, again, back to Cyrus's article, using first-person pronouns. You can't tell a first-person perspective without using first-person pronouns. The third thing is the stuff that is still working, is the stuff that's probably still going to be around for a long time. Using clusters to group your contents, making sure that you are updating your content regularly. This is a problem even I still have. I absolutely hate updating content. I'm probably going to say this 10,000 times, but it is so important. It's so simple, but it can yield so many returns. I just updated a content on the Moz blog around search intent. We're not even ranking anywhere near top 10 for that term, which is crazy. because search intent is the future of Moz Pro. And then once we updated that content and we optimized it from a product lens, the content is now in top 10. But I know that I still have to go back again and look at what Google Search Console has picked up for that term, re-optimize the content, build more internal links to the piece, make sure that the cluster around that content is properly built out. These things sound so simple, but they still work. It is always going to be the basics, but I would say the most important thing is center first person narratives. The other thing I think we need to do that probably is going to take more hard work is building our own communities. It's probably why I started the webinar series, because I wanted to build my own email list to be able to reach a segment of Moz's audience with stuff that I'm saying. Blog is no longer enough. I said this yesterday, I'm saying it today, I'm going to say it tomorrow. Blogging is no longer enough. It's changed. It's not we're not going back to how it used to be again, ever. We're going forward from this point on. So we need to start thinking, how can we reach our readers directly? Right now, for me personally, I'm seeing that email is converting at an insane rate. And nobody's going to take the email list away from me, except if I kill that email list, which is not going to happen. It's grown to what, 10,000 plus in less than 1 year. So I would say start thinking, how do I reach my audience more directly than relying on search? Look at all the websites that were hit with the HCO. Look at all of them. Most of them, the underlying factor that I'm seeing is that they are too reliant on search traffic. I call it a toxic relationship that we are in with Google. So how can we diversify? Maybe using YouTube, maybe using TikTok, maybe using social. How do we create more content that are maybe smaller size, but allow us to promote the stuff that we have on our blog so that we're not just relying on search traffic? This is what I would think about in 2025, because we are seeing that, I'm speculating here, but I think the number one reason why communities like Quora and Reddit are enjoying so much traffic is because they answer so many questions. And they answer so many questions through users' lens who has experience with the content. Now, we can't compete with that because we don't have the resources to create that much content, but we can at least try to build our own communities, start getting more user-generated content through those communities, and maybe fueling that through our channels like blog, emails, and the rest of them. That is what I think we need to do going into 2025.
Fantastic. Katarina, do you have anything to add?
No.
Nope. Okay, fair enough. What about you, Joe? Do you have anything to add?
I'll just read the comments. That was really good. Thank you. Preach, Chima,
Yeah.
preach, says Munyenye. Daniel saying Chima is on fire. Jordan saying, I completely agree with Chima. We need to avoid putting all our eggs in one basket. Explore channels relevant to our community and audience. Social search is going to be getting bigger. Better is talking about build a brand around your blog niche. That's why people see you as the authority, and always look out for your content on socials or in the search engine, despite the algorithm. Yeah, I think you do need to build your brand, but I do emphasize also what Chima said about the community. Community is very important. I think a lot of times people don't invest enough in it. I think what you just mentioned, if you've increased the number of subscribers, Chima, to 10,000 in less than a year, very impressive. You built a community there about, especially the Moz Pod series. So I'm always about community, but it takes time, but it is worth an investment.
Great. I don't have anything to add either. I thought that was an awesome response. We'll jump on to the next question. Do you have any ideas on how to get links to the category sections of an e-commerce website? So I'm going to take it that a category section being, if it was, I don't know, selling kitchenware, it might be the mugs category page or the plates category page or something like that, with lots of different versions. Joe, any thoughts on this? I think it really depends on what the website sells, because obviously I was saying plates and mugs, but it could also be different destinations. If you're a travel website, it could be literally anything. It does depend. There's the first it depends of the day. But yeah, it's really hard actually without knowing what the product is. Go on, Joe.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think Boots a while ago had some good category landing pages. And for example, around like beauty or maybe some around some women's products or men's products. They really built out their category pages by making it more enticing, a lot more descriptive. And I think they also linked to some of those category pages in some of their campaigns or some of their Christmas campaigns. They did that. Of course, they've got a lot of budget to do that. But what I would do is actually build out the category section. So perhaps maybe you've got, if it's an e-commerce site, yeah, let's take the beauty product. Maybe it's about daily beauty facial regime. And that's something actually for men and women. And you can have that information a little bit there. And then you can actually build out more of that actually on the actual blog itself. But I think to build the actual links to the category section, it also needs to be an overall marketing approach so to make sure that from the company perspective, you've actually linking to the deeper level pages, not just to say the home page on the blog.
Yeah, with this question, I'm not sure. I think the reason I'm a bit lost is it's a bit of an odd question in terms of, with total respect, by the way, I'm saying that, but to get links to your category pages feels a little bit, I don't know, old school SEO really. And in my opinion, I'd be just doing what Joe said about focus on making those category pages better, evolving them. Depending on the industry you work in, you could do some research into what journalists who write about your industry build an editorial calendar and work out what they talk about. And so if, for example, they do, I don't know, Mother's Day lists or Father's Day lists and things like that, and what you're selling kind of fits that and makes sense as a gift, then you could try and pitch it that way. But I just don't know. If I do a lot of digital PR, and this probably wouldn't be what I'd focus on in terms of the overall goal, unless you've got, I guess, a new or interesting category. But even then, I don't really understand why somebody would link to the category page and not the actual product page instead. Katarina, do you have any thoughts? Sorry, I'm a bit lost on this.
I understand the question. Like you want to, yeah, if it's a category that you want to boost in rankings, you need links to it. But I would probably try to work with affiliate marketers and bloggers and make some kind of campaign around that theme, and maybe from them then get links to that page that you want.
Also put a link to like Lush. So that's the hair care product. So create a campaign around this. So actually less is all natural, not using plastic. Why would people want to actually use the Lush product? I think if under this one, you could actually, under the hair care, you could actually build it out a bit more and explain why Lush or why your product is that special, is that different than perhaps another product on the high street or in other shops. But I think I like what you've said about read what the other journalists are doing in your area. Also, I'd actually see what are the competitors are doing that you like, what are they doing that you don't like, and see if you can find a gap.
Yeah, I guess some people naturally writing about your business. So if, for instance, your CEO, say they're being interviewed, to me, it feels quite natural that when they're answering questions, they might mention sections of the business, and therefore it would make sense to link to those sections to find out more. So I guess from that perspective, if you're publishing or if anyone's writing about you and they're talking about your business, then that makes sense. It's just those kind of subcategories. I'm not sure how you would get links to the mugs section unless somebody's actively saying that we sell mugs and we do this and we do that in an answer. Chima, do you have anything to add? No? Cool. Okay. Oh, we're at that kind of point where do we just jump to the last question or do we try and fit one in? Go on, Joe, what were you going to say?
Last question, then we can spend a bit more time.
Okay, cool. Let's do that because we usually only have 10 to 30 seconds on the last one. What are you most excited about from an SEO perspective? Joe, what are you most excited about from an SEO perspective?
I'm really excited about events as always. I love events. Obviously, we had the Brighton SEO event a couple of weeks ago, and apologies for my voice. I don't know if I caught something, but it sounds worse than it is. But I'm really excited to have actually an in-person workshop. Search London is having its first workshop, and this one's sponsored by OnCrawl, and it's all about tech SEO. So you can actually be proactive with your tech SEO monitoring, and I'll share the link in the chat. So anyone that's able to get to the London area, November 25th, it's a workshop with the OnCrawl team, and then we'll have the Christmas event, the last Search London event for 2024.
Great, and I'll be there hopefully. Chima, what are you most excited about from an SEO perspective?
The first thing, there are two things I'm excited about. The first one is ChatGPT. I feel like competition is good, and they've shown with ChatGPT that they are a company to take note of. In fact, they have a better product than Google AI Overview, but than any of all the other AI tools out there. So I'm excited to see what they do with ChatGPT. First of all, they need to fix the search function within ChatGPT because that is absolutely atrocious. Yeah, once they sorted that out, I want to see what ChatGPT is going to look like. I want to see if it's going to be able to compete with AI overviews. I want to see if competition brings about more search tools and if it's hopefully limits Google's monopoly in a realistic way that Bing hasn't been able to do. And then the second thing I'm excited about is the webinar I'm hosting with Lily Ray on the last Wednesday of this month. I think it's the 30th or 31st, I'm not sure. I think it's the 30th. And it's going to be about how to prepare for the future of search. I'm just dropping the link in the chat. We're going to be talking about all of the algorithm updates that happened this year, those who were hit, those who lost, those who won, what brands can do, especially small business, what they can do to recover and compete with larger brands who seem to be winning for everything in search right now. It's going to be a fun AMA session. And if you don't have creating questions, then you know that it's going to be absolutely banging. So save your spots.
Oh, I love everything that Lily Ray writes. She's so fascinating. So that's going to be amazing. Katarina, what are you most excited about from an SEO perspective?
I'm excited about everything that I can do with AI now that improves my normal work and like how to do things smarter with AI. Yeah, I like to build some tools with the help of ChatGPT or automate things, build Google App scripts to do things in my spreadsheets that I normally would have to do myself or manually. So all these new things, how to do things better and smarter, I'm excited about.
One more for spreadsheets.
Yes.
One more for spreadsheets.
It seems like it's my favorite tool now. Let's see.
Yeah, I think I agree. Just all the change that we're going through and thinking about with all these new tools, how we can do what we do, but even better than before, and focus on the things that are more strategic and that we enjoy rather than doing the sort of data entry type stuff that we can now get these amazing tools to do. I think when I speak to clients or when we get inquiries, the go-to is how do we do things quicker and cheaper with AI? But I'm trying really hard instead to focus on how do we do things even better than we did before. And at the moment that's working, but that seems to be the go-to. But I think actually, like from a content perspective, the research now with using AI tools to help with like custom GPTs and stuff is just amazing. So that's what I'm excited about at the moment. Great. I think we'll stop there. Thank you so much to Chima and Katarina and Joe. Thank you so much for co-hosting. Thank you so much to those that watched live. And thank you to those watching afterwards on YouTube. Thanks to those that submitted questions. We'll be back next Friday. Have a lovely weekend.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I've just corrected the link. Thank you, Munyane. Thank you to Katarina and Chima for joining us and Mike for hosting.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.